the port. They arrange for the movement of things from one place to another, but they're very highly involved in working within the basic elements of nature in order to do this. Water, earth, weather, time.
The spark of trade in the Portland Basin, there's an Aboriginal trade. The later development of the Port of Portland as a formal entity is all really a product of this Aboriginal network.
This idea of trade and transformation is one that marries the art to the building, marries the art to the ideology of the port.
The main function of the port is to make things move. So to me, it made sense to have a piece, a sculptural piece, that the people of the port could come out and make move by turning a crank.
In keeping with that idea, we thought that we might, as artists, be able to trade images or ideas or materials.
Well, as part of the new building, we wanted to connect public art to our region, and ultimately we selected 5 pieces in very different mediums.
So what we've been doing is studying the old art, the old Columbia River art, taking bits and pieces of it and tried to see where the art would have gone had the times treated the people kinder, had they been left to build this art and carry it on into the next generation. The port is really helping to revitalize this art form. It's never really made its debut into the contemporary art world.
People like to draw comparisons with the Art Deco movement. I mean, the way that a lot of the geometry works in our art.
You see a lot of concentric circles, a lot of concentric squares, rectangles.
It is very, very geometric, but you can't really put it together with a ruler.
Coming in to work with the Port of Portland, they asked us to each take one part of the world in which the port works, sea, land, and sky. And I just love the sea. And so the first idea was to make this translucent firmament, something that felt as if the water held like a fossil. Coming from elevators, people will be seeing it with light coming through on this side. And then if they walk around, they'll see kind of the tail feathers.
I've always been interested in places that are somewhat changeable and things that aren't always static. Elements that could change or be changed. Glass is always changing. The space itself is also layered, and since I'm at the top, I was really interested in focusing outward toward the sky.
The piece that we put together for the port is called Conveyor. One of the initial questions was, what kind of artwork involving moving images could exist in a space that's going to be experienced by the employees every day, forever? One day when you're waiting for something and you say, oh look, that's changed a little bit. Another day maybe you don't pay any attention to it. It's a kind of an aquarium of ideas. The conveyance of heat and the conveyance of cool air. We want people to be allowed to lose interest. It's sort of the opposite of what you try to do as a filmmaker. We allow their minds to drift. And this isn't to be watched, it's to be around.
I build sculpture. I like to build kinetic and interactive sculpture, meaning that people can walk up to it and do something to it and it'll do something back, or show you something or behave in some way in response to what you do to it. The Port of Portland asked me to look at a shade structure for their 8th floor patio on the new building. On that central post, there's a hand crank. Extending off this post will be these 4 segments, and each segment will hold a handle that's about 5 by 10. And as you turn the crank, it makes all the segments move from one side back to the other. I'm hoping that people will see it as a functional, useful thing out on the patio there.
We've been really heartened by the range of artists that have participated in this process.
That the art really creates a transformation of all of the spaces psychically and physically within the building.
I'm hoping that people will look at it and every time they see it, it'll be kind of a different experience.
Some of these pieces are statements and some of them are questions.
The environment is never static.
I think it shows why the port's been able to be such a long-standing presence on the Columbia River, because they were looking at new ways to do things, spanning their horizons.